Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MICAH Housing for All 2022 virtual bus tour. I'm Sue Watlov Phillips, and it's great to have you here with us. And I'm going to turn it over to our host, Roxanne Smith, who is the founder of Housing for All. Roxanne?
Morning, everyone. Delighted to be with you this morning. And sadly, this need persists. I wish it were different because about 25 years ago, I just felt this mandate on my heart that we as community needed to come together to ensure that everyone has a safe, decent, accessible, affordable place to live. There were a couple of pivotal things that it came out of my faith, but there was a couple of events that really significantly stayed with me. One of the first ones was a social worker there was an elementary school just down the street from St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Church called Cedar Island, and the social worker contacted me and said she was aware of one of their families that were using the Maple Grove truck stop as their home base. They were living in their van. They had twin little girls. And it's like, this is not okay. A family shouldn't need a rest stop as their base and their van. It's just, this is not all right. So that was one thing that really resonated and caused me to try to start to discern and what we could do to address this. The second thing was we also were one of the host churches for Families Moving Forward, the organization that had families living in churches for a week at a time. And one of the families, the woman was pregnant, gave birth to this newborn baby, and that newborn baby came home from the hospital to a classroom in our church. That just didn't feel okay to me. I thought about the difference when my sons were having their families and those babies went home to a home, not a classroom and a church. And that also highly motivated me to keep working on this. Housing for All came together out of the faith community. There were 6 different faith communities. The 2 largest at the time were Lord of Life and St. Joseph the Worker partnered together. But 4 other communities came together and started working on this. We originally partnered with CommonBond Housing. We had gone and looked at what they had done in Edina and saw that to be a beautiful way to have people have a safe place to live. And so we partnered with them. And that was our first affordable housing site. We went to City Council and stood up and said, we want this for our community. We think this is really important. And Maple Grove agreed and passed that. And that continued to keep happening. That's the good news. And so Maple Grove added quite a few more affordable housing sites. And then we realized that we were doing some things right, and maybe this should be broader than just Maple Grove. So we expanded it to the northwest suburbs and started working on affordable housing. And we created this table called Housing for All that brought coalitions of people together. So all kinds of different groups and individual community members kept coming to this table. So it was city people. It was people like from Cross, the food shelf. It was community Mediation and Restoration. So different agencies, and over the years, many different ones came to the table and sat, face to face together so we could collectively figure out how we might, create more affordable housing and also change the hearts and minds of people that were, opposed to this. And one of the things that came out of that was these bus tours. We realized that if people went and saw what affordable housing looked like, met the people that actually lived there and heard those stories, that would change hearts and minds. And it certainly did. I really don't know. This might be year 12. I'm not sure, but we've been doing this for a long time. And it really has worked to allow people to see. We were able to partner with different communities. Dayton being another one where there was some real strong concern from the community. And so we leveraged that with the bus tour that year and started it from Dayton and went out to St. Michael and looked at a Sands property out there because Sands was a developer that wanted to build in Dayton. So we have successfully been able to bring the people together. And thanks to MICAH for being at the table and leading and supporting us and helping us to organize to do this. So we've got a successful model, and we're grateful for everyone who's been part of that and been at the table over these many years. And we're excited to have you go on the bus and see what we have to show you today. And with that, I'll turn it to Joyce, who's going to do our faith reflection today. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. So I'm just going to share just a scripture that kind of came to my mind, and then we will pray. And so I know a lot of you may already be familiar with the scripture in Proverbs. This is definitely not verbatim, but in the scripture, I think it's Proverbs like 19:17, and it talks about we'll always have people in need, right? There'll always be people in need amongst us, but we should, actually, I think it says it's a command that we shall open our hands wide and help our brother. And so I just want us to kind of reflect on that scripture. And then I will lead us in prayer. So, Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for this day, oh Lord. This is a day that you have made, and we choose to be glad and to rejoice in it. Father, I thank you. I thank you for every person that is in this space. I thank and I praise you, oh God, that their hands are opened, oh God, that there is a need out there, and this is a group of people at the table who sees that need. And so rather it is resources, gifts, or talents, I thank you for every person that is represented here today. I also thank you for Sue and for MICAH. I thank you for Roxanne and Housing for All and every other organization that is represented here today. I thank you for the idea of this virtual tour. And as we travel along this virtual tour, I ask that we will learn a little more, that we will share a little more, and that we will do a little more. I ask of all these things in your matchless name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Really appreciate that. Jumped a little bit ahead here. So the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing is an organization that started in 1988 by people of diverse faiths who came together to address the growing number of people in our communities experiencing homelessness. Our mission is to ensure that everyone, without exception, has a safe, decent, accessible home that is affordable to them at their income. We are a welcoming community, respectful, accepting, and loving, and treating others the way that we would want to be treated if we were in a similar situation. Our members are people who've experienced homelessness, housing instability, discrimination, congregations and organizations that help to address the immediate needs of people in our community, providing support that includes prevention services, outreach, food, shelter, transitional and supportive housing, and affordable rental and home ownership options. In addition to providing or supporting these direct services, we advocate at the local, state, and national policy levels to address systemic causes of homelessness, advocating for policy changes that encourages communities to build and preserve affordable housing that is currently in such short supply and great need. Our work is based not only on our values, but on listening to and working with people who have experienced homelessness themselves and encouraging them to use their God-given voice and power at decision-making tables and developing the solutions to the current housing crisis. 70% of our board and staff have come from diverse communities. Over half of our board and staff have experienced homelessness, housing crisis, or discrimination. We have 6 regional chapters, including the Housing for All. We also have MICAH South Dakota County, MICAH Northeast, which is Washington and suburban Ramsey County, MICAH St. Paul, MICAH Anoka County, and we just started the MICAH Minneapolis. And so now we're going to jump onto the bus. Okay, so the rules of the bus. So I'm your bus driver as the executive director here of MICAH, is that we're recording. And so others are going to be able to review this later. So please stay muted until you're called upon. Raise your hand physically or in the participants menu or in the chat for a question. If at any point the audio or video presentation seems choppy to you, try turning off your camera feed. No spitballs, no hanging out the window. All right, here we go. Let's all get on board. Hang on to your coffee, your drinks. Here we go. And the bus is going to move us over to our virtual place where Hennepin County is. And I'm going to turn it back over to Roxanne.
So this morning we're going to hear from Kevin Anderson, who is our Hennepin County Commissioner representing this area. Hennepin County faces many issues that Kevin recognizes as essential to our community, including investments in housing. As Commissioner, Kevin has been an advocate for housing and our veteran population and work towards functional zero for this group. Kevin has also worked with the community to see more affordable housing options in his district, which include many of the fastest growing communities in the county. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, Roxanne, you and I have known each other for a very long time. And so it's just really a blessing to be a part of the virtual bus tour. I think I've joined you in person prior to the pandemic, and we've worked together on a number of things to advocate for affordable housing and trying to care for a community. And your leadership has been truly an inspiration to me as I've been on my journey. So thank you. And thank you everyone here for being a part of this. I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides prepared, and hopefully everything goes to plan here. Let's see. So this is Hennepin County. In Hennepin County, we have really recognized the need for affordable housing. And out of the pandemic came something perhaps good. We have been awarded a number of ARP dollars, which has afforded us the opportunity to really double down on our investment in affordable housing. We were awarded $245+ million to respond to the economic and housing and the impact to our community from COVID-19. And so we, as a county, have really tried to make sure that we are following our values of making sure that we are continuing our investment in workforce, making sure that we have employee engagement, diversity, inclusion. We are looking at all of this through a racial equity lens, knowing that racial disparities really persist and are at the core of so many of the things that are hurting our communities. And so this is part of our opportunity to make sure that we're making some transformative changes, making lasting investments, using this one-time funding source to really help our community. And we're going to be leveraging other dollars. So on an annual basis, Hennepin County invests nearly $146 million in affordable housing through pass-through funding. And we, through this CARES money, have invested another $80-some million into affordable housing. Some of our priorities, obviously, we wanted to fund health programs responding to COVID-19. We have our capital resources in infrastructure, strategic investments, as I mentioned, trying to make sure that we have a long-term impact. And then shifting some of our resources to make sure that we are working to prevent issues before they become a crisis. And I'll get into some of the ways that we've done that. From a housing perspective, we wanted to really focus our impact on our people who are entering homelessness and exiting homelessness, and the housing continuum at the deeply affordable housing level and our affordable housing and workforce. We are always trying to build partnerships and find ways that we can strengthen our impact, including our investments in single residence occupancy buildings, purchasing hotels. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But really, our guiding principle on this is, if you've ever heard David Hewitt talk, our lead in this work, is that we want homelessness to be rare and brief and non-recurring. So as somebody experiences homelessness, we get them the support they need to have a stable future where they don't enter homelessness in the future. Some of the ways that we want to make sure that we're doing this is by minimizing the number of people who are entering homelessness in the first place. And then for the people that are entering homelessness, maximizing the number of people who are exiting. So we did this by eliminating self-pay at our shelters, expanding our shelter hours to 24/7, investing in low barrier shelters and shelter case management. As I mentioned, we're doubling our investment, or really creating new investments in single room occupancy housing by purchasing hotels and creating living spaces for people at very low income levels. We also deepened our supportive housing strategy. This is the kind of our pandemic recovery funds. And I'm going to go through this. I have the different areas of housing that we put money in. We put $14.1 million on case management. This includes 26 new positions. These are people who are going to be out and working with people directly to try to get over, or approximately 1,000 people who are experiencing homelessness per year out of homelessness. This is us funding the front lines and trying to make sure that we have the resources needed to truly make an impact. Our homelessness recovery, we put $25.5 million to support new shelter operations in the, I believe it was the Simpson. Let's see here, I have the exact here. Vivo Villages, the American Indian Community Development Cooperation, Homeward Bound. We invested in 24/7 positions, operations, and shelters that pre-pandemic only operated in overnight capacity. This better allows us to make sure that health needs that residents who are utilizing shelters need have a place to be during the day, and that our caseworkers have a place that they can interact with them and better meet them and find resources for them. We support the lowering of any barriers to shelter through the elimination of self-pay, as I mentioned. We have a one-time capital fund so that we can fund necessary modifications and expenditures at emergency homeless shelters, so that we can, again, better care for people and make the shelters more accommodating to those who need them. We also added $3.5 million to the Simpson shelter by funding a new shelter facility for adults experiencing homelessness as part of a larger strategy. The new site is really a model in trying to make sure that people who are seeking shelter have a dignified place and a safe place that they can utilize and receive services. We also invested over $2 million in eviction prevention. This goes toward the recognizing the need that if people aren't evicted, they won't experience homelessness in the first place. Or hopefully, we invested in making sure that landlords are getting paid so that people can remain in their homes. We're also funding our homelessness court or housing court, so that every resident who is going through housing court has representation. representation is a key part in making sure that we have that residents have the tools they need to know their rights, stay in home as much as possible. We also invested $46 million in our multifamily housing, single room occupancy, and home ownership programs. A lot of these I'm sure you'll hear about in a little bit, so I won't go into a lot of detail here. One of the kind of exciting things that we did is took hotels and created a single room occupancy. We purchased the building, we remodeled them, and then we are leasing the space and having the management run by a separate party. This allows us to control the costs and make sure that residents are going to be able to have safe space that is dignified and accessible for anybody who needs it. And this is really focused at the extremely affordable, the 0 to 30% AMI residents, people who are exiting homelessness and getting their foot on stable ground. I think this is a wonderful program where we continue to find new opportunities, and I think this is one of the areas that we're seeing a lot of growth and hope. Another area that I've been working on, as was mentioned in the introduction, I've been working with an organization called MACV, whose mission is to end veteran homelessness. And I've seen a number of their projects. I've been involved in some groundbreakings and some ribbon cuttings already. They're doing some really innovative things, including making sure that residents have access to supportive services as well within the community. So they're building properties within a community that are close enough together to allow a case manager to have touch points at in each building each home that they're building, including adding a accessory dwelling unit, or an ADU, very often attached to a garage in the backyard. So they're able to add more density and more housing capacity into a single lot. They're just doing some really great work. I'm honored to have been a part of it. I also led a procedure where we managed to sell tax forfeited property to them so that they were able to utilize it for affordable housing for veterans. Looking forward to continuing that work with them. We also have a lot of really great projects happening in District 7, which is the western suburbs of Hennepin County, including Maple Grove, Dayton, Rogers, Champlin, Plymouth, and all suburbs westward. I understand that there's a number of people on the call that are going to be talking about their individual projects, so I'm gonna try not to spoil anybody's fun. But I'm really excited to see some of the work that's being done in Maple Grove. Duffy Development has our Botano 3, which I was able to tour recently. John Duffy has been a longtime supporter of affordable housing and has really done some great work. And it's been really exciting to see some of the innovation that's coming out, seeing that he has some units reserved specifically for people experiencing homelessness, as well as large families, which is kind of a hard space to develop in, especially in a rental unit. Recently, there was the Cranberry Ridge in Plymouth. They had their open house recently. It was so great to see the work that's being done in Plymouth to make sure that they have affordable housing. These homes are safe, spacious, accessible with a secure playground, recreation and meeting area for residents. It's near schools and shopping. We want to make sure that as we're looking at these developments, that we're finding places that community can be built around. And that's something that Beacon has certainly done with Cranberry Ridge. In Dayton, we have our Balsam 2 development. Hennepin County was awarded some grants at the end of June to help support this housing development. I understand sand companies are going to be on, so I won't go into a whole lot of details, but I'm glad that Hennepin County was able to support the sands projects in Dayton, as well as some accessible space in Rogers. This project was building out and rehabbing some accessible senior space in Rogers, and it's so important to make sure that space that exists that is affordable for seniors are also being maintained and rehabilitated so that they have all of the tools that they need to make sure residents can stay in their space longer as their needs continue to grow. So with that, I'll end my presentation, trying to make sure that I'm respecting everybody's time.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We're going to hold questions until the end so we can make sure that we get everybody in. And if you want to go off screen for some reason, the screen keeps showing you after I start sharing my screen. So just so you know. So thanks again, Kevin. And you can reach Kevin, Commissioner Anderson. There's his email. All the slides and this video will be available on MICAH's website. And so we'll be asking Commissioner to share his slides with us. And so we're going to head on down the road and go over and see community mediation. And Roxanne?
Good morning, and we want to welcome Joyce McNutt, and she is the Program Specialist, Youth Diversion and Eviction Prevention. CMRS Incorporated is a nonprofit community-based mediation and restorative justice provider. We are committed to developing the capacity of our community to respectfully resolve conflict and repair harm. For over 30 years, they have helped people have respect and productive conversations, resulting in better understanding and creative, concrete solutions. Welcome, Joyce, and thank you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I work for community mediation and restorative services. And one of the things that we learned or we noticed is that when people are in crisis, and losing your home is definitely a crisis, that sometimes it's really hard for them to communicate, right? Rather they don't know what to say, don't know the resources. And so we try to provide that space to get landlords and tenants to talking so that they can have a creative way of figuring out a payment plan, or possibly in some cases a move out plan. And so what we have done is learned to be very, very creative, right? Dealing with the pandemic and not being in person with people. So a couple of places that we show up, we're in the courts, we're in Hennepin County courts as well as Scott County. And when we're in the courts now, because there's so many cases, we don't do mediation on the spot, but when people can't resolve, when the attorneys and the agents for the apartments are having conversation and they end up with no resolve in housing court, we step in and see, can't we schedule a mediation where we can have a little more time and allow them to kind of talk to each other. We also provide resources, right? So during the pandemic, We also realized that there were some areas that were underserved or not served at all. And maybe because there were barriers, there could have been cultural barriers. There also could have been language barriers. And so although there were applications for rent assistance, we ran into people who didn't know how to fill out the application or needed some assistance. From that, we developed a group of other organizations, and from that came Project Hope. Project Hope is still up and running, and they are now a group of navigators. So we show up at farmers markets, we go to apartments, to their events, to community events, just to give people information about resources, assisting them with setting up mediation to have conversations with their landlords to see if we can get some resolve, as well as just encouraging them, right? Like if you end up going to court, please show up in court so that you can have some resolve, have some conversation. Another place that we show up is from the Tenant Resource Center. So before the pandemic, there was a collaboration of many organizations that said when people are in crisis, they kind of don't want to run around. They don't want to go call several numbers. It's overwhelming. And so what would happen if we were all in one location? We started out, we were at the Urban League over in North Minneapolis, and there were several different organizations all in one spot. Tenants would come in and every resource that was needed. So whether there was help finding a job, getting a GED, transportation, needing mediation to have a conversation, or financial resources, we were under one roof, and that it was like a one-stop shop. Because of the pandemic, of course, we've been dispersed, but we are still in operation. So we receive referrals. If someone needs mediation, we get that referral and we contact them and set up a conversation with them and their landlord. One of the other things that is pretty exciting is right now in Hennepin County, there are so many eviction cases that there is now a backlog. And so with Hennepin County, there's an opportunity. So while there is this long wait for your court date, there is something now called eviction diversion. And during that time is another opportunity for us to come in, to have mediators available, to have a conversation, see if there's a resolve, see if there are resources that we can put in the hands of the tenants and or the landlords, to try and find some resolve, work out payment plans before that court date comes. And so hopefully there's a resolution before that occurs. And so within doing that, it kind of, we are taking advantage, right, of the backlog during that time. We're finding out that sometimes it's best for people to maybe move out. Perhaps they're in a place that is just not affordable. But some of the things that come up is, okay, they found a place to stay. Perhaps they're going to stay with parents or whoever, but they run into issues with like storing their furniture or a truck to move their furniture. And so those conversations come up and we are able to try and get resources in their hands. And I am super excited that actually tomorrow will be the first time that we are coming together with other organizations, and we're doing what is actually called a pre-eviction clinic. It will be coming up tomorrow. We'll be doing it actually in Brooklyn Center, where people can come in. We'll have mediators available. We'll have there'll be free attorneys available. Here's a list of other providers that will be there. Some of these providers are also part of Project Hope. So we'll be there to help them apply for rental assistance, have conversations with their landlord, set up mediation, and all of these things are to prevent eviction. So CMRS has been very intentional of finding spaces where we could fit in, to get information out to people, to have those conversations, to try and come to the aid and give people kind of that hope and that voice when sometimes it's really difficult, right? When you're going through a crisis, to have that conversation. Literally, people become paralyzed, right? They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. And so we try and inject ourselves in the community, in the courts, in the apartments, to be there, to be that neutral voice for the landlord and the tenant to try and have some resolve and to prevent eviction. So thank you so much for stopping by CMRS. That's just a little bit about what we've been doing. Hopefully you guys can get the word out about the clinic tomorrow. And so thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And again, if you'd like to get in touch with Joyce, there's their email address. And again, we'll be posting all these slides and also the video. And we're going to get back on the bus and head over to Maple Grove. And my goodness, we have 3 presentations in Maple Grove. And we are going to start, Roxanne.
Thank you, Sue. The next person we're going to hear from is Council Member Karen Jaeger. Karen has been an awesome supporter. She's been on the physical buses with us when we were doing the bus tours many, many times. And Maple Grove understands the importance of affordable and attainable housing and looks for opportunities to foster its development through fee reductions. Maple Grove partners with organizations such as CommonBond Housing and Duffy Development Corporation to work towards the development of high-quality, affordable housing, and we're grateful for Maple Grove for being a partner of Housing for All on MICAH.
Karen, did you want to say a few words? You may be on mute, Karen.
I'm good at that. Okay. The City of Maple Grove remains committed to providing housing options for all within our community. And I remember in the beginning when I first started on council and starting to get affordable housing within Maple Grove, we had a lot of NIMBYs, not in my backyard. And it's really interesting how 20 some years later, it isn't that way anymore. We have a whole new generation and people are helping people. Botno Ridge, Duffy Developments, I can't say enough for him. He's done so much for Maple Grove. And one thing about him, he owns his properties. He doesn't sell them. He always says, well, that's my retirement. When you drive in Maple Grove and you go past one of his developments, you do not know that it's affordable. I have some friends that I have taken them tours of Maple Grove and they just, that's affordable? Can't believe it. Sands Development, the developments they put in are great too. I'm so proud of Maple Grove, of what we've done. As we plan for our future community center, we are also looking ahead to planning for the undeveloped lot adjacent to Lifetime Fitness on the corner of Main Street and Weaver Lake Road. Our city has had conversations with the CommonBond communities to develop affordable housing, senior housing on this location, as well as on vacant city-owned property across from Weaver Lake Road. As plans move forward for the community center this fall, Maple Grove will continue to engage its conversations with CommonBond and about site development. I'm going to turn the rest of this over to Joe Hogaboom, who is our Community and Economic Development Director. Joe?
Thank you, Councilmember Jaeger. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having us be a part of this group. I'm humbled to follow Hennepin County's presentation as well as Joyce's presentation, and learning a lot myself in terms of what's offered by these other organizations. I've worked for the city of Maple Grove now for just under 4 years, but I'm also almost 13-year resident of Maple Grove. And affordable housing is such a big animal that there's so many different pieces to it and so many different factions and so many different needs. And whenever I get a question from a resident or from somebody that says, well, tell me where the affordable housing is in Maple Grove, it's such a hard question to answer because there's so many different definitions of affordable, where people are at in their life and what they're able to obtain. So just working through that and seeing some of the things and ideas that the county has, I think would be really helpful. The other thing that Joyce had mentioned too that I picked up was just having services all available in one roof. I love that idea. People come to our counter at City Hall a lot asking for housing related resources and information. And we try to catalog it as best we can, but people are in crisis mode. It's hard for them to, I think, sometimes act and think the way that they normally would when they're in a crisis mode. Any of us would be in that same situation. So just making things easy for people that are probably in one of the worst times of their life is very important. So I just wanted to thank the other agencies for that work. Just piggybacking off of what Councilmember Jaeger said about some of the work that we're doing here in Maple Grove. Botno Ridge was mentioned. Botno Ridge is 150 units of some deeply affordable housing. There's an element of housing for veterans and housing for folks that had previously experienced homelessness in their development as well. The development was built in 3 phases over 6 years. And so phase 1 was 6 years ago, phase 2 was a couple of years ago, and phase 3 just opened to residents a month ago. So we're happy that project is finished. They're literally just putting the finishing touches on the landscaping and things like that. The final 50 units is mostly geared toward families making 30 to 50% of the area median income in the census district that surrounds it. So we're excited about that. As was mentioned earlier, there will be a grand opening open house, and that will be from 3 to 6 on Monday, October 3rd. So Monday, October 3rd, 3 to 6. And when I'm finished speaking, I will put that information in the chat as well as my contact information. I'm not sure if there's an RSVP or not, but if you're interested in attending, you can certainly let me know, and I can let John Duffy know as well. Minnesota Housing Commissioner Jennifer Ho is planning to attend and make some remarks around 4 o'clock. So that will be a very good event. In addition to Botno Ridge, as Councilmember Jaeger discussed, the city does have vacant land that we own right outside of Lifetime Fitness. So if you all are familiar with where Lifetime Fitness is at our community center, there's some grass that's on the other side of the parking lot on Main Street. The city owns that land. We've programmed it for some fun stuff during COVID that people could do outside, like outdoor movies. But right now we're really focusing on trying to get going with some development on that. And one of the things we're looking at is a deeply affordable senior housing project, which we just don't have. I don't think anyone has enough of in any community. So we have had conversations with CommonBond. We will be talking with other groups as well. But I'm excited for this project because a lot of times what really holds up affordable housing projects from my perspective is land acquisition and the costs that are associated with the land acquisition. And in this case, we own the land. So I think that will make this a lot smoother of a project than any that I've worked on before. So we're looking at both family housing as well as a senior housing element. We have a CommonBond affordable senior just kitty corner across the street. So we really want to mirror that and do something similar. In addition, we're also looking at options to make the city's Woodland Mounds, which is our affordable senior housing apartment, 88 units, to make that more of a deeply affordable building. So as folks leave through attrition, we're looking to put new income requirements on some of the units to make them between 30 to 50% of the area median income. It's always been affordable housing, although we just didn't have sort of the income restrictions. So while the rents might have been lower, there may have been folks living there that, maybe would have not necessarily qualified for that lower rent. So we're just putting in more safeguards to make sure that it's serving the seniors that truly have a need in Maple Grove. In addition to that, the city does own 29 homes, single family homes and townhomes that we call our scattered site housing program. And that's to offer deeply affordable housing embedded in the community for families. And so it's a very successful program that we run. The city's has been acquiring homes for many years. I think Councilmember Jaeger's work probably at the start of that contributed to the success of the program. But we do hear from families quite a bit saying that this has really helped build a bridge between where I was and where I want to be. We've had families that have put folks through North Hennepin Community College, put kids through college, and have moved on and have just great success stories. So we're very proud of that program. The City Council recently approved a 4-story, 160-unit affordable senior project, and that's over behind Menards. So the area behind Menards, if you're familiar with that in the northern part of our city, is really going to start growing. Highway 610 is going to cross over 94 soon and be extended. And once that happens, I think that area will really take off. So a new apartment project over there for seniors, I think, will be great because you're close to the hospital, you're close to shopping, you're close to transit. So it's really a great location. The only other thing I think I wanted to mention is during COVID, I think most cities, including Maple Grove, were allotted some federal funds, both through the CARES and the ARPA projects. And so we were able to give quite a bit of that, to be exact, $515,000 to Cross during Cross being our local service agency for folks located in Rogers, for food services, but also for income rental assistance for income qualified people. So people that were having troubles paying their mortgage, having troubles paying their rent. The city of Maple Grove took a lot of the allotment that we were given by the federal government and turned that over into the hands of Cross to help our residents across the region as well. Just two more things I'd like to just quickly mention. And I don't want to call her out necessarily, but I'm going to call her out. We have Kendra on today with the Osseo School District. I'm personally really excited. I just met her last week, and she's doing work to help prevent in the Osseo and Brooklyn Center school districts some of the effects that can be had when students are facing families that are in homelessness situations. And so working to kind of provide resources so that folks are able to maybe stay in their home, find a home. So it's a really cool thing that our school districts are doing, and I thank her for being a part of this work. Councilmember Jaeger and myself are also involved in the Age-Friendly Maple Grove initiative, which holistically looks to build bridges in the community to help find things that would foster better lives for senior citizens. And so my work with that is mostly surrounding housing, but they also do work surrounding transportation and other things. And they are here today to provide a presentation of their own. So just wanted to give them a shout out though and thank them for the work and partnership that they do. So a lot of things going on in Maple Grove. We're really excited to do this work. We think it's very important. We've seen a lot of issues particularly that have come to light during the pandemic, particularly with homelessness throughout our community. And it's just great to have the resources at the county level and other agencies to help folks that need it. So I thank all of you for the work that you do.
Well, thank you, Joe and Karen. Thank you. That was just a great presentation. And as Joe mentioned, we are going to be going over in just a moment here. We're just going to show you the website for City of Maple Grove. And then we're going to go to Roxanne again.
So next we're going to hear from Liz Faust. She works with the City of Maple Grove. She's the chair of the Age-Friendly Maple Grove Initiative. And I think that we just heard a great insight to that already. So from Joe, so we'll just move to Liz's presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, is it just the presentation or can you see my notes on the side?
We can see the notes on the side too, but that's okay.
From beginning. Well, all right, we'll just go for it. Okay, like I said, good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Faust. I work for Maple Grove Parks and Recreation, but I'm also the chair of the Age-Friendly Maple Grove Initiative. And I'm here on behalf of Age-Friendly Maple Grove to share some information about our work, including how we intersect with housing. Okay, before we talk about the work itself, I want to share one definition of age-friendly communities in case some of you aren't familiar with the concept. So age-friendly communities are places where age is not a barrier to living well, and where communities make plans and decisions with a lifespan lens. So basically, it's an approach that looks at nearly all aspects of community life and deliberately includes all chapters of older age. So this graph illustrates kind of the growth of the 55 and over population in Maple Grove since 1990. And that year, only 6% of the city's residents were 55 or older. And by 2019, it was nearly 28%. So obviously a huge increase, about 22% there. But we also want to emphasize that this is not just about demographic shifts. Age-friendly communities have always been important, but they are now more urgent because more of us will be older than ever, and our communities weren't planned with that necessarily in mind. So here's a quick look at our initiative, Age-Friendly Maple Grove. So we're a community-driven, city-sponsored initiative to make Maple Grove a better place to grow older. We do have a leadership team of about 15 to 20 cross-sector professionals and community volunteers that work on this. And we're a member of the World Health Organization and the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here. And this is just a quick look at some of our community partners who are actively involved in the initiative. Very important with this work, and several of them, including the City of Maple Grove, also provide financial support generally on an annual basis. And as I mentioned, so the City of Maple Grove is a member of the AARP Age-Friendly Network, but did you know that there's actually over 700 members in the whole United States, and that number continues to grow, which is absolutely wonderful. And network members, basically, they commit to making a change using the program's framework. So enrollment in this isn't just a starting point, it is a starting point. It's not like an achievement of becoming age-friendly. So it is a process. So enrolling in an age-friendly community, you're basically starting the work. It's not just an achievement and a label you give yourself. So on the left side, you can see earlier this year, the state of Minnesota actually became the 10th state in the country to join at the state level. Super exciting. And you can see that there are 3 counties, including Hennepin County, along with 11 cities in Minnesota. We have increasing coordination with age-friendly Hennepin County, and we're really grateful for their work and their commitment to this. So there has been significant action on the state level in the last few years. So the Governor's Council on Age-Friendly Minnesota was established in December of 2019. Then age-friendly legislation passed in June of 2021. And then an age-friendly Minnesota director was hired in June of this year. And age-friendly Minnesota actually has a grants program that they're launching this fall, also very exciting. And they're prioritizing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So age-friendly housing. So in terms of housing, there are many ways to apply an age-friendly approach to housing. In fact, the only truly effective strategy is using multiple overlapping angles that stretch traditional thinking. So looking at this diagram, we start with affordable housing at the top. So Maple Grove is fortunate to have Arbor Lakes Commons, a CommonBond Section 8 senior housing building that is centrally located in a walkable part of the city near many amenities. Other types of housing also need to be affordable, not just age-segregated housing. So next is home design and accessibility. So this can include, but goes way beyond things like ramps and grab bars. We need to use basic, inclusive design principles that make a home able to be lived in and visited by a broad range of people and abilities. This just makes sense, creating housing that is usable by as many people as possible. So the next is simply creating a greater variety of housing types and choices. This can also help get at affordability issues by providing a broader range of price points and reflects the reality that older people live in many different places and settings throughout the community. And next, we need to find ways to connect housing and services so that when we reach a point of needing some help, we can continue to live safe and well at home as long as possible if we choose to do so. And then the next would be opportunities tied to zoning and land use. So these things can inhibit age-friendly housing or make it possible. And finally, alternative models of housing like home sharing or the village model can open up new choices for people as well. So age-friendly Maple Grove's primary role when it comes to housing includes some of the following. So broadly speaking, we work to put an older adult lens on the work that helps stretch typical ideas of what housing across the lifespan can look like. This includes an emphasis on affordability. We also partner with the City of Maple Grove to incorporate aging and demographic shifts into its housing plans and decisions. And I want to acknowledge the City of Maple Grove for its support and partnership, which is very important to our work. So City Council member Karen Jaeger and Community and Economic Development Director Joe Holubum, which we heard from, both are here today and sit on our leadership team, as Joe mentioned. So very fortunate for their partnership and work with us. And finally, we educate the community about a whole range of housing resources and information. So I want to close with exciting updates about affordable senior housing in Maple Grove. First, Woodland Mounds is officially becoming an affordable building. So Woodland Mounds is a city-owned building with 88 units. I know Joe touched on this. And traditionally, rent has been below market rate. However, the city is officially transitioning this building to be affordable with a mix of 50% and 30% AMI, or area median income. And second, a new affordable development has been approved and underway in the northwest region of Maple Grove. So this building is being developed by Minneapolis-based MWF Properties, and rent in this building will be at 80% AMI. And if and when you guys have time, of course, I encourage you to visit our age-friendly Maple Grove website just to stay up to date with what we're up to. We also have a Facebook page you can check out or follow. And then, of course, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or want to connect on a deeper level. Or else I just want to thank you for your time and attention to this presentation.
Thanks so much, Liz. Appreciate it. If you want to stop sharing screen, then we'll show your last slide too, which will then show your website. Great, thank you. And again, they want to thank Age Friendly Maple Grove for all your great work. And we're going to move over now to CommonBond. And Roxanne, are you still with us?
I am. I had to switch. My computer was running out of batteries, and I don't have the card handy, so I'm on my phone now. So I'm still here. So our next presenter will be Tiana Oden, and she is a resident of Arbor Lakes Commons, and she'll be speaking to us next.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Tiana Odeen, and I am actually the Advantage Services Regional Manager at CommonBond Communities. I am filling in today for Cynthia Heckler. She is our on-site coordinator at Arbor Lakes. So she works directly at the site as well with our residents and other site staff. And she has a lot of experience. She's been with CommonBond for about 15 years. But I'm just going to go over a little bit about CommonBond in general, and then I'm going to also highlight Arbor Lakes. So a little bit about CommonBond is we have about 160 affordable housing properties in Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and most recently South Dakota. So we are expanding our services in housing. We provide property management and services, including supportive housing. This is pretty neat because we get to collaborate with our own site within our own organization on housing stability. So we have property managers at site, as well as Advantage Services Coordinator to assist residents in any of their needs that they might need help with. But today we are going to go over Arbor Lakes, which is located in Maple Grove. It is a Section 8 building for seniors 62 and over, and it is independent living. Residents pay about 30% of their income for rent and are recertified every year. So that recertification will make sure that their rent is accurately reflecting what their income is and what is deemed affordable for them. CommonBond provides property management as well as services at the site. Services are referred to as Advantage Services. So we have an ASC at site, which is Cynthia, and she's our Advantage Services Coordinator there. She focuses on assisting residents and providing various services and programming to the residents, including adult education. We have health and wellness, as well as community building and engagement. And she is the one that sets all of those programs up, along with other youth coordinators or educational coordinators that we have here and put at CommonBond. She also connects residents to outside providers for any needs. If there's any lease violations or conflicts among residents, she also provides any mediation among that. She works on eviction preventions, helps get any help with rent, and plans community activities. She works with residents on any personal goals that they want, if that's getting employment, being assisted with getting benefits, calling medical insurance, really anything that the residents need. The ASC is there to help them get connected to those resources. All of our Advantage Services coordinators also have ongoing trainings to assist them in navigating any mental health crises at site. So we have to have a minimum of about 12 hours of training each year. And ASCs are allowed to look for those resources or look for those trainings, as well as CommonBond provides those as well. We do have a mental health initiative that happens twice a month, where ASCs can come in and kind of have a drop-in consultation with our mental health practitioner that we outsource. So we do have some amenities out at site. We have 4 raised gardens that we receive a grant from Hennepin County from. This grant is to assist with some healthy living for the residents. So the residents grow their vegetables here. It is a community partnership. And the residents, the residents are then able to go to the garden and take what they need to make their healthy dinners or lunches or breakfasts. And it's also a really great way for them to come together as a community. And in CommonBond, we are excited. We have about 4 new sites coming in the next year or so, with more kind of in the mind right now. We have Marketplace Crossing and Big Lake. We have an estimated completion date of 2023. We have Radiant in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is one of our newer ones. And that is also hoping to get completed in 2023. We have Rhizome 7 in St. Louis Park. It has an estimation completion of late 2023. This building is really unique compared to the other buildings that we have within CommonBond, because we are providing in-daycare services at the building. And then we have Fitzgerald Flats in Forest Lake, which actually opens on October 14th. And we are currently taking applications for those tax credit and market rate units as well right now. And that is a brand new building, and we also have supportive housing services there as well. But yeah, we're excited about all of the new opportunities we have. We are expanding pretty quickly. We're excited about being able to provide affordable services or affordable housing and services to the residents that need it. But yeah, let me know if there's any questions, and thank you for having us.
Tiana, thank you so much for stepping in and taking Cynthia's position today. She is with her mother today at a doctor's appointment, so we appreciate you stepping in. And I'm going to share a screen, and we are going to get on the bus here in just a minute and head on down the road to Sands. So thanks again, Tiana, for stepping in. Again, that's the information on CommonBond, and we're going to get back on board, and we're going to start moving down and move over to Sand Company. And Roxanne, I'm going to turn it over to you again.
Thanks, Sue. So next we're going to hear from Megan Sand-Carr, and she's the Vice President of Development. Sand and its team have been developing affordable housing communities since 1995, focused on developing multifamily communities throughout the upper Midwest. And they've been a great partner at the table with us also for Housing for All. So we look forward to hearing from you next, Megan.
Great. Give me just 1 second. Let me pull my screen up here. All right. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll start my video, although I will tell you, sometimes I have a lot of stuff running in the background, so I apologize. So we have been working, we're busy in the northwest suburbs right now. Right now we have 3 projects that either just opened or are just getting into construction or development. Our first one is Balsam Apartments 2 in Dayton, Minnesota, which I believe Commissioner Anderson mentioned. This project is a second phase building. All at units at 60% area median income and lower. Both of these buildings are targeted towards families. Balsam 2 includes high priority homeless and people with disabilities units, which is a change from Balsam phase 1, which just included low income housing tax credit units. This is a really exciting opportunity, as somebody mentioned, and I apologize, I don't recall who, Housing for All was instrumental in getting Balsam Apartments phase 1 into construction and through the city council process. Phase 2, coming back the second time was immensely easier. The city opened us with welcome arms, excited about getting more units into the growing area of Dayton. As many may be aware, Dayton, recently got an interchange on 94, which has just increased their development throughout the city exponentially. So they have a lot of for sale, single family, multifamily, but this is, I think, the only second phase project or second building in the city of Dayton that targets affordable housing and rents at affordable levels. Let me see here. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Just this is quick pictures. I think this is similar to what I shared last time, but of another building we just completed. So Balsam Apartments 2 will be similar in style. Right now, we have started construction. They are pouring footings and foundations right now. So we anticipate opening in September of 2023. Our newest project in development is 5240 Apartments, which is in Crystal, Minnesota. This project will feature 58 units of affordable housing, all at 60% area median income and lower. The building will have 4-bedroom units, which is a new add for us in an apartment style. We have plenty of 4 bedrooms in townhome style, but it really is addressing larger families. The project is located a quarter of a mile from the new regional Becker Park. And we are currently going to bid, actually, hold on, maybe that's on the next slide. Yep, here we go. We plan to bid in October. In November through March, we'll be working on due diligence, closing documents, and hopefully we'll start construction in spring of 2023 with a spring/summer 2024 resident move-in. These are some pictures of, what we envision 5240 to look like. And then finally, we just opened Element Apartments in Plymouth. This is located right next to the Station 73 Park and Ride and next to the Waters Senior Living Community. This just opened at the end of July, and these are some recent outdoor pictures. So it's targeted towards families. So 1, 2, 3 three-bedroom units. We incorporated a sports court, as you can see in the bottom picture, for our older kids on site and adults, including, some Foursquare and just the ability to get out and get some exercise. And then this building right now, at last I heard, it's a little bit over 90% occupied. So we have a few more targeted units to fill. So this building includes people with disabilities and high priority homeless units, which sometimes just take a little bit longer to get through the lease up process and process the paperwork necessary to occupy the units. But we are working to get those last units filled, which will hopefully happen in the next couple of weeks. And then I'll just mention, key partners here that are on the call for this project were Hennepin County. We were able to utilize home and AHIF funding, and then Outreach Development Corporation as well. And obviously Minnesota Housing Financing.
Great, thanks, Megan. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, if you want to stop sharing, we really appreciate you joining us today and sharing all the great work that Sand is doing. Sorry. And again, if you'd like to get in contact with Megan, Sand Development, there's the information there. We're going to jump back on the bus again and go to the next stop. And we have one more stop after this one over at the Capitol for a quick policy update. I'll turn it back to you, Roxanne.
Thank you, Sue. Next, we're going to hear from Ed Goldsmith, and he is part of the ODC, and he's a MICAH board member. ODC is a community-based nonprofit corporation. They mobilize public and private resources and related service partners and other local resources to support, develop, preserve, and advocate for affordable housing in the Plymouth, Wayzata, Medina area of Hennepin County. Welcome, Ed.
Good morning. We just heard about the Element Apartments. This development and Cranberry Ridge, which was mentioned by Commissioner Anderson, are the most recent examples of the partnerships that my organization, the Outreach Development Corporation, known as ODC, enters into with private, for-profit, and nonprofit developers of affordable housing. As a local community organization, we raise funds locally in partnership with Interfaith Outreach to invest in affordable housing. We provide support for affordable housing and facilitate working relationships with local agencies to provide human services for the residents of our apartment developments. I'd like to share with you our history and why and how we do what we do. Okay. This first slide is a very brief description of ODC, a local community-based nonprofit affordable housing corporation established in the year 2000. Primary service area includes the communities of Hamel, Long Lake, Medicine Lake, Minnetonka Beach, Orono, Plymouth, and Wayzata. Through the use of unpaid volunteers and local donations, we successfully mobilize partners and communities to preserve, acquire, develop, and advocate for affordable housing with access to a variety of services. We've created close working partnerships with Interfaith Outreach and other local agencies and related service providers, which enables unique and powerful on-site and off-site to provide life-changing opportunities for individuals and families to thrive. Due to the combined efforts of ODC and Interfaith Outreach, a total of approximately 950 affordable housing units at 15 properties have been developed or preserved. In the year 2000, volunteer leaders serving on the Housing Committee of Interfaith Outreach, a West Suburban social service agency, envisioned the need for an expanded and innovative approach to respond to the extremely urgent need for affordable housing that was being seen too often at Interfaith Outreach. This approach would build upon the work already being done by Interfaith, but as a more focused, comprehensive, and expanded effort with the support and encouragement of Interfaith Outreach. These leaders formed the Outreach Development Corporation as a separate and independent nonprofit community housing organization. Due to the combined efforts of ODC, Interfaith, and successful partnerships with multiple housing developers, property owners, private investors, and donors, local governments, and other related service partners, a total of approximately 590 units of affordable housing at 15 locations have been developed or preserved in the cities of Plymouth, Wayzata, and Medina. Each property includes the opportunity for residents to obtain on-site and off-site social services from ODC's services partners. An additional 50 units are being planned for a parcel of vacant land that we acquired, which has the potential for up to 100 more units to be developed in the future. Now let's see how this has been accomplished. If began with a vision of a safe place to call home with opportunities to thrive with strong, hopeful futures for all, and a mission to preserve, acquire, and develop quality, affordable multifamily housing with services in the suburbs west of the Twin Cities. By mobilizing private and public sector support and partnerships to preserve and develop a continuum of affordable housing options with unique and powerful on-site and off-site services and links to life-changing opportunities available to adults and children in developments in the area served by because of our primary service area is we have a close working partnership with them in all but one of the 15 partner developments. It also began with beliefs that strong futures begin at home, safe, affordable housing for all is vital to a strong and vibrant community, and collective community partnerships are foundations to the success of our work, and our community at its best ensures a safe, stable place for all to call home. We partner with private and nonprofit affordable housing developers, housing advocates, local got the wrong slide up. Okay. We partner with private and nonprofit affordable housing developers, housing advocates, local government entities, faith communities, school districts, the corporate and business communities, public and private donors and investors, and service providers to preserve and increase much needed affordable housing options. We advocate for policy in environment conducive to the preservation and development of housing, equity, affordability, and reasonable tenant protections. When advocating on behalf of affordable housing, we found that in addition to faith communities and community service agencies, another important partner to have is the local school district. When we had a representative of a school district testify before the city council about the impacts of housing insecurity and homelessness upon student performance and the limited resources available to respond to those impacts, the city council listened. They listened because they know that the success of every student is an important societal and political issue, along with the impact it has on school resources. An important aspect of our advocacy is the work that we do to educate the general public and public officials. It is important to have reliable local data supporting, documenting, and describing the need for affordable housing. The websites of the Minnesota Housing Partnership and the Metropolitan Council are two sources for such local data. Local social service agencies should also have information about the impact of housing insecurity and homelessness in your community. This slide gives a brief sample of such information and provides data of the impact of a lack of an adequate supply of affordable housing in Minnesota. Such information demonstrates that adequate housing is critical for local jobs and strong economies. Stable housing is essential to students' success in school. Affordable housing is vital to positive health outcomes. Families and children are at an increased risk of experience homelessness. The supply of affordable housing is decreasing due to market rate conversions, an insufficient amount of new construction, and housing costs increasing faster than personal incomes. Based on population growth alone, projected need in our service area by 2030 is for 1,200 affordable housing units, and incomes lag far behind rent increases. This slide describes how ODC is able to accomplish what it does. Our emphasis on housing and services with services and resident engagement. We and our development partners contract with local service providers to provide on-site and off-site human services and links with life-changing resources and opportunities that ensure residents to stabilize, strengthen, and thrive. Resident input is routinely sought and integrated into project development and program service planning. Our board of directors are led by a hands-on working board all of whom are unpaid volunteers like myself with a wide range of professional experiences in affordable housing, nonprofit management, real estate finance, development, property management, human services, law, municipal leadership, business ownership, and community planning. The board functions as a catalyst for community-based advocacy, for public action to provide incentives for the preservation and development of quality, affordable housing, equity and diversity in housing, and the protection of tenant rights. Much of our research, development, and advocacy work is conducted by board members. The management and administration of ODC. We contract with Interfaith Outreach and ODC development partners for varied administrative, fiscal management, and property management services. Currently, coordination and community engagement and advocacy functions are conducted by board members serving on our development, marketing, and advocacy teams. We do all of what I have just described because of a group of highly qualified and very dedicated unpaid volunteers. We are able to do that without any paid staff. Thank you for taking the time this morning to learn about ODC, Outreach Development Corporation.
Thank you so much, Ed. And if you'd stop sharing screen, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks for your great work. We're also blessed to have Ed on the MICAH board too. And I'm going to share our screen again. And this is where you can get additional information on Outreach Development Corporation. We're going to jump back on the bus and we're going to head right over to the Capitol. And I'm going to do a quick update on federal and state legislation. And I'm, again, Sue Watlov Phillips, the Executive Director of MICAH and the past board president of the National Coalition for the Homeless. I'm going to stop sharing and share my screen again on the federal updates. And Ed, you may need to go off screen if you don't want to be on screen during this presentation. So on federal policy, we have the Bring America Home Now campaign that we launched with the National Coalition for the Homeless. MICAH, as well as members of MICAH, are involved with the campaign. This is designed to really address the long-term solutions in ending and preventing and ending homelessness and making sure that everyone has a safe, decent, accessible home. Certainly all the great programs that we've heard about need money to be able to do that. And so what we're really talking about is trillions of dollars that need to happen at the federal level to really get our housing stock in place for people with more limited resources. We do a great job with people that are homeowners in first-time home buyer bonds, as well as mortgage interest deduction, homestead credit, tax deductions, and capital gains deductions. But we do not invest as much money into housing for people with more limited incomes. So we need to get that into equity, which would mean that we need to increase it by 4 times what we are doing currently. So our focus is really on 6 major policy areas: housing, health, livable incomes, education and training, civil rights, and racial equity. We know that we need to have equity across all the different programs. So elections matter. Please get out and vote. And we need to have folks that are helping make policy decisions that will help us get the resources that are flexible enough to use at the local level so that we can do the things that need to be done. So immediate requests, we're working right now on the fiscal year 23 budget. The nation is on a budget from October 1 to September 30th, so we're finishing fiscal year 22. In the president's budget, increases vouchers, Section 8 vouchers, housing vouchers by $200,000. In the House version, it's $140,000. In the Senate version, it's only $5,000. So we're really pushing that everybody push for the highest level of funding for the fiscal year 23. What we anticipate is that we'll be on a continuing resolution. That means we'll be utilizing the same level of funding that we have currently through probably December, because they does not look like they're going to get their jobs done on time. Some immediate threats: we have an institute called the Cicero Institute that's working in a number of states that are trying to put into place anti-homeless legislation. In Tennessee, it's now a felony if you are experiencing homelessness. In Missouri, they basically are barring the state from being able to use any of their HUD dollars to create housing. We have court cases on both of those, and we have Department of Justice involved with that too. So our position is that we need homes, not sweeps, not criminalization of people experiencing homelessness. And so some of the long-term solutions are to make sure that we are creating more housing choice vouchers and making sure that all folks have that available. So the Family Stability Opportunity Vouchers Act, as well as Ending Homelessness Act, are two of those opportunities, as well as the American Housing and Economic Mobility Act, which would add additional housing dollars into the Housing Trust Fund and expand our fair housing protections to be similar to our Department of Human Rights protections here in Minnesota. And then also we want to put into permanent place the Eviction Crisis Act. This would be very similar to the emergency rental assistance programs that we've had during the COVID. And this would become a permanent program. And then we also want to expand fair housing to make sure that no matter what income people have, if they're using housing choice vouchers or any type of rent subsidies, if they have military status or veteran status or whatever source of income, that they're actually able to utilize that to get into housing without being discriminated against. One of the newer programs that comes online this January is the Local Homeless Prevention Aid. MICAH worked with Representative Gomez in the development of this legislation and in supporting this legislation. This is using our tax system to actually provide local aid to each county to be able to prevent families with children from becoming homeless and youth that are living independently. Here in Hennepin County, we will be getting $6 million, about that amount each year for the next 5 years. So this is a real opportunity to continue some of the great prevention programs that we've had going in Hennepin County, as well as to provide rental assistance for our families and for our youth that are living independently. And you can see some of the ways those dollars are currently targeted. As we move into the 2023 session, we're continuing our priorities from 2022. We did not get all the things that we wanted to have happen in 2022. We left $12 billion on the table, which of course we could certainly use right now in helping to prevent people from being evicted, as well as creating more affordable housing. So we want to make sure that we are investing those dollars in helping folks within our community. And we want to make sure that that happens by ensuring that the voice and power of people who have experienced homelessness and housing crisis are at every decision-making table. So they're helping design, implement, and evaluate how homeless programs and housing programs are moving forward. Also, we continue to work to make sure that we are not poisoning our kids with lead paint as well as lead pipes. And so while the federal legislation last year with the infrastructure bill helped in addressing a lot of our lead pipe issues and our water issues, we hope that in the fiscal year 23 federal bill that will pass is that we will have additional dollars to deal with lead paint as we also work on that on the state level. Want to make sure that racial equity and that we protect people's civil rights are continued throughout all of our systems, and preserve and create a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable housing, both rental and home ownership, for people with incomes under 30% of median income. And that's really the population that we need to target the most. We want to support livable incomes for people who are employed, unemployed, and on public assistance. And we want to ensure that we are a welcoming community in creating housing opportunities that provide second chances and mercy for those who have struggled with addiction, mental health, and physical health issues, as well as criminal and or rental issues. MICAH will continue to work, and I'm going right on to another meeting right after this meeting with Homes for All as we are developing and implementing our 2023 priorities. Again, Homes for All is made up of over 170 organizations across the state that are working to prevent and end homelessness by creating safe, decent, accessible housing that is affordable for everyone at their income. And I'm going to turn it back over to Roxanne to close us out. Roxanne, are you there?
Trying to get it unmuted, sorry. Okay, so our faith and our action. This is a quote from Pope Francis. We can find no social or moral justification, no justification whatsoever for lack of housing. Pope Francis said this back in September of 15, and our Catholic faith, my Catholic faith, calls me to continue to work for this because of this. We must demand all our systems and organizations do what is needed to guarantee everyone, without exception, a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable home. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're grateful to have you with us, and we look forward to continuing to partner.
Thank you all. We are all blessed by all the great work that you're doing. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you'd like to join the Housing for All meetings, we meet typically on the fourth Tuesday of each month from 9:30 to 10:30. Because of this great event today, we are going to skip next Tuesday. So our next meeting will be in October. So thanks for all of our presenters. Thank you all who joined us. We really appreciate all your great work, and have a blessed rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great faith reflection too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Joyce. Bye.
Yes, thank you guys. Bye-bye.